How do you steamroll lobbies with Undead? Well, let's talk about it. Currently, as I'm making this video, and that is just released on one of the most broken things in the game. It is super overpowered. So, I mean, I expect these things to get nerfed soon. So keep that in mind when you're watching this video later. But it's still interesting to see how the meta is evolving, stabilizing, and what Undead is like. I play a lot of games with Undead, won a lot of games, lost a lot of games, I learned out of them. There's multiple ways to scale it, but before we talk about the tribe itself and the cards, let's talk a bit about the meta and how the game plays compared to quest meta. So in quest meta, you played for your quest mainly and for whatever you could find and maybe for your hero. But right now, without quest, hero power is super important. So more than ever before, you want to be picking good heroes, meaning 4 hero options are way more preferable than 2. This is also the first time that I ever bought perks. I hate doing it, but I kind of have to if I want to be competitive right now. While in previous meta, you could perform pretty well without perks. So heroes like Lord Barov or Maiev or Omu, any hero that levels quickly without losing too much health and locks up triples is good. So heroes that are good at getting triples, heroes that are good at leveling quickly. Those are the ones you want to be looking for. If you pick a tempo hero or pick a hero that stays down, the issue is that you're just not gonna catch up with other people. As soon as other people hit the nice 5 and 6 drops, like, you fall behind. I've played a lot of games with a lot of different stuff, some bad heroes as well, and even if I triple into an Undead 6, it's not enough because other people have double Undead 6 or on tier 6 quicker than me, so they start snowballing. It is super high rolly right now, which is kind of sad, but yeah, it is hit or miss. And if you can play other tribes, yes and no. You can play other tribes, you're probably not gonna win. I saw only one Murloc board win, I think, with a Flurgle, because he high rolled super hard, and then I saw like Dragons and maybe Menagerie get a second place. That's it, and I played a lot of games. All of the other games were won by Undead, and at least like 7 players in the lobby are playing Undead. So that is just the meta right now. It's probably gonna be that until we see nerfs. But now you know kind of how you should be playing and how you should, you know, what your game plan should be. Look for triples, they're important. Look for money. And that means that some leveling curves are now good that were not really played in the past. So curves like the 4-on-4, which is a power level, or the 3-on-3 are played a lot more, I see. 4-on-4 is still very risky. You need a hero power that helps you stabilize and hopefully good tribes and good shops to follow up with. But it works. I've won some games 4-on-4, also lost. You know, it's still high risk, high reward, and maybe I didn't play too well, who knows. But yeah, so you can power level again. But also the warrior curve, which is the curve where you stay down on tier 1 extra long until 7 gold, is now probably viable. I haven't really played it too much, but I've seen other people pull it off. Basically, if you stay down that long, you can find a lot of triples, put them in your shop, freeze them, and then you can just level to tier 5 or tier 4 and triple into 5s or 6s. So you basically are more likely to get 1-drop triples by staying down for that long. This is again done with heroes sometimes like Lord Barov, or actually any hero can pretty much pull it off, maybe even tempo heroes. Of course, the basic curve is also still good, so leveling normally to tier 2 because you have knights on tier 2 that you can hit early. I've also seen the Avenge guy on tier 2 being good, that stacks up gold for Avenge 4. I've seen a lot of boards, I've played it myself, and it feels nice, you know, it feels okay. It's pretty low on tempo, but you can spike massively. And again, it's all about those spikes. Early tempo isn't as relevant as I thought it would be. You could get really strong early, but you need to leverage that, meaning you need to level with that and get something going. So you either get strong and use that to level, or you're not strong, but then you hope that you have triples lined up or a lot of money saved up or whatever, so you get to be strong in the future. Okay, that's enough about the meta right now, but what about the Undead tribe itself? So there's multiple ways to play it. I think my ratings actually were pretty accurate as well. So far, I think most of them were really good, except for Anubarak, that's the 5-drop that gives attack. But the first way that you can play the tribe is of course knights. This one seems pretty good, only if you like high roll the pieces though. I've seen people try and make knights work or have 1 or 2 knights on the board. I've tried that myself, and then you just die because other people have it as well. There's too many out of the pool already, or you don't hit the 6-drop. If you pick knights and you don't hit the 6-drop that summons 2 knights, you are also in a really tough spot. So just relying on knights itself needs a lot. So I wouldn't recommend it, but it's nice to set up, of course, and you can always transition out of it into a different kind of Undead board. And your end game just looks like the summoners, the tier 6 death rattles, then maybe some guy that gives reborn to either your summoners or your knights, because knights, if they are reborn, they also come back with full health, full stats. It's kind of stupid. It's kind of like the horse on tier 5. And yeah, then you can find additional pieces. So you could still slot in an Anubarak on tier 5 or a sister or whatever to scale up those existing, your existing board. Maybe even the Titus or Baron whatever you want to call him. Yeah, and then the second way that you can play Undead is the attack buff. I only pulled it off once yesterday because I've mainly been tripling into 6s. But this feels really strong. Only with like a single Anubarak that was pretty late, I was able to tie or win some insane fights just because I have some random reborns on the board that are just tiny, and they all have super high attack and they trade multiple times into other stuff. So this is a legit build that you can play. Just pick Anubarak and a reborns, or play a Titus, or find multiple of them, and then you just buy some random reborns. You can buff the health a little bit so you're not instantly lost against a Tunnel Blaster, so make sure that you find a sister or just a health buff on tier 4 that gives +2/+7. It's a really good card, and yeah, that's legit. So a general tip that I also want to give within that is to pick the early reborns, like the Taunt Reborn on tier 1 or the Skull on tier 2. Like those are okay cards early on, but they're especially good because they set up all of these synergies. They set up Sister, they set up Anubarak, they just set up the Tempo on tier 4, for example, the Jelly Belly. Early Reborn ends up being so good just because it helps you pivot or transition into any sort of Undead board very quickly. And it's okay tempo, like it's not bad. So that brings me to the next type of scaling, and that is just purely Sister. The first game I played of the patch was just Lord Barov, so again a high roll hero where I had 2 triples. I leveled to tier 5 to take 2 6s. I instantly just thought that this was gonna be good, and it was. I was able to hit Sister. I don't know if I was on both triples. I think on one triple, then a 4 Reaper or something. I don't remember. Anyway, I ended up with 2 sisters, and I killed the entire lobby by turn 12. That, like, everyone was just falling like flies. I got there super quick. I just picked random reborns. I didn't have any attack scaling or any other real scaling going on. It was just sister, maybe an abomination in the back, and yeah, it's good. No, one sister is not that good though. I've played with one sister before that is not able to like scale fast enough to be significant. Also because it's mainly health scaling, so if you don't have the attack scaling to pair with it, it's a little bit iffy. But if you have 2 sisters or multiple, 4 sisters, I've had those games as well, then you don't even need attack scaling. Your entire board becomes massive battle monsters that still scales during combat as well. It is stupid, and I think it is probably one of the most passive scalings we've seen. There's also, of course, tempo and that you can play. I'm not really gonna count that as a win condition though, because it doesn't get first, but there's a lot of stronger and that cards on lower tiers that synergize well together, that are able to maybe get a top 4 or something. But I also want to point out Fatty, as I like to call him, but he's called Abomination on tier 5. It is the Avenge guy that scales up. It's so good. I've seen a lot of people triple into it early or just buy it early. It's just one of those like fat chonkers that you have in the back of your Undead board that is the final killing blow. So I would pick those up most of the time. Again, a good reason to buy multiple reborns early, because you have a lot of Avenge then, meaning that guy is going to scale pretty quickly. But yeah, he's really good. He's like a Mithrax on steroids for Undead. And that is mostly it for Undead. But now, more important question, how do you counter it? Because if everyone will be playing Undead, how do you make sure that you have an edge against them? Well, first of all, if you know someone is attack scaling with Anubarak, Tunnel Blaster, Baron, or Titus, could be a good counter if you know they don't have Sister. So being able to nuke an entire board and get the reborns triggered already could be good. Also, if they have summoners on the board, you might be able to kill them without them getting full value. If a summoner is reborn, for example, it only is going to summon 1 knight and not even reborn itself. So you're able to play around a lot of the reborn and death rattle stuff, maybe with a blaster. Again, depends on the matchup and if they have health. But the obvious one is a new tech card that has Divine Shield, Wind Fury, that whenever it attacks in, it removes Taunt and Reborn. Now, I've played it a lot and it's just good. Like, I've picked it up most of the time because I know it's gonna get value. Putting it first, not always, because a lot of people taunt their smaller things, and their taunted things are very often also smallest because they have sisters or something in the back, meaning that they are the first thing to die. They don't get skilled with the sisters. The bigger stuff is in the back, like the horses maybe. So you actually want to delay it. I've played it mostly first. I think it's still fine first most of the time, but if you know you're just up against people who are mainly skilling with sister, putting it second allows you to maybe get some big reborns in the back to not reborn that would come back with a lot of stats. Another thing I want to point out is Leroy is good, of course, Leroy is a nice card, but I see way too many people put it first. I've played against so many people who put Leroy first against me, and again, Undead often has small taunts. It very often just runs into a small reborn and gets 0 value. So if you do want to end up picking an Leroy for your bowl to counter them. Don't put it first, put it further back, so that way it might have a chance to connect with actual good cards in the back. Zap doesn't do anything, a lot of other attack doesn't do anything. I think Undead has actually been one of the hardest tribes to counter, just because even if you clear its entire board, it just resummons, and it has the permanent attack of like the Anubarak buffs, for example, meaning you can't snipe a certain card to make them weaker. Like any card you snipe doesn't make them weaker. Even if you snipe Sister, they still have all the stats on their board. They just don't skill for a turn. So they're in a really interesting spot. I really hope they get nerfed soon, because it's pretty annoying to keep losing to it even when you are pretty strong. But that's just the state of the game right now, and I hope this video somewhat helped you out and helped you figure out how to play this tribe, how to maybe counter it, and how to, you know, pick heroes properly and play this new meta. Thank you for watching, hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time.